Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Hard Trapathy from Trip Law. Today I have a very important video topic that I wanted to address with you because we're currently seeing a lot of ICE raids happening at people's workplaces. And if you're an immigrant who is working and you're at your workplace and if ICE comes there, what do you do, right? So this is what this video is for. We're taking into account the employer's responsibilities and rights as well as the immigrant's responsibilities and rights and what ICE can or cannot do when they're at your workplace. So you want to really be careful what you do when you're in that situation, and we're hoping this video today will help you shed some light on what to expect. So the first thing we want to talk about is what ICE can and cannot do, right? So ICE cannot, right, come into the workplace specifically without a warrant, right? They need a warrant to basically enter the area, right? And so without a warrant, right, if they don't have the warrant, ICE can't enter private areas, right? Like if you have an office or like rooms in the back or private rooms, they can't actually go into that room without a warrant. So they need permission either from the employer or they need a judicial warrant signed by a judge. Now, if they don't have that signed judicial warrant, they cannot enter those private areas. And you as the employer also want to make sure you do not give permission to ICE to enter those private areas because you may have someone there who may be undocumented and it could harm their case. And another thing that you want to really focus on is that without a warrant, remember that they can still enter public areas, right? So if you have a lobby or if you have like a storefront and there's areas out there that are public spaces, public areas where anyone in the public can enter, they can enter that area. But remember, they can't enter the private area. But always look out for that warrant. When you get the warrant, you want to, as at the place of employment, you want to review that warrant very carefully. So you want to make sure, remember that the warrant is very limited in scope. So you want to make sure that what does the warrant actually say? Where can they actually go to at that principal place of business? What does it allow? What does the warrant allow? Does it allow entry at all? Does it allow entry in specific places? Is it signed by a judge? These are all things you want to look at, and our law office will explain to you either as the employer or the immigrant who is employed there to make sure that you understand your rights. And so you really want to make sure that you understand that with a warrant, when you do review it carefully, does it even allow the entry, right? So that's very important to know. Another thing is with a warrant, that you could have a subpoena or you could have an administrative warrant. It could be kind of like a I-9 audit notice, but it doesn't give them the permission to enter. But remember, the subpoena, the administrative warrant's not going to allow that. You need that judicial warrant. It has to be signed by the judge. So any subpoena or administrative warrant won't suffice. So you want to be careful to basically understand the distinction between the two. Now, when they do come to your employment, there's certain things we advise our clients to say where we say, I do not consent to your entry, ICE, without the warrant. You can clearly and unequivocally tell that to them so that they know that what they can and cannot do. You as the employer can specifically tell them, I do not consent to you searching our place of business without the warrant. And they have to follow that because they technically don't have that judicial warrant. However, if they do have the warrant, then they are legally allowed to come in. But remember, it's limited in scope. So you want to really understand the difference between the public and private spaces in those areas and what the warrant does and does not allow. And so you basically can say that. You can at least tell ICE that I do not consent to this entry. You also want to say something to the nature of, I need to speak with our attorney, our immigration attorney, before we provide you any information. Because that way you then are armed with knowledge that you can then provide or have before you, provide that information to the ICE officer. Because if you could say certain things without understanding certain situations in the law, and that could actually harm the case for the immigrant or for your business as the U.S. employer. So something you want to tell them is, I need to speak with my legal counsel. I need to speak with my immigration attorney. So that way you're able to better be equipped with the knowledge to handle that situation more effectively. The other thing you want to do, or do not do actually, in this case, is you do not want to obstruct them, right? Their investigation that they're doing. You don't want to obviously lay your hand on an ICE officer. You do not want to interfere with them physically, right? Because if you do, that could lead to criminal consequences. You have to be courteous to them, of course, and as professional as you can and be respectful because they are doing their role. But you as the employer or the actual immigrant, just be courteous to them. It'll probably go a better and longer way for you in a situation, but you don't want to physically confront them because physicality can lead to detentions, ICE holds, arrests, things of that nature. You also want to make sure you do not obstruct their investigation by lying. Remember, lying is very bad. You never want to lie to the government because if you do that, it could have severe consequences to your case down the road. So very important, you do not lie. Always try to state the truth, or better yet, just don't say anything. Stay silent and wait for legal counsel to handle that situation in a professional, calm, cooperative manner. So just basically try to remain silent, but don't ever interfere with them physically, and try not to lie, right? Don't lie, because that's going to lead to more adverse consequences. Now, if you're an employer, so I'm speaking to the employer now, there's certain responsibilities that you should know of once ICE presents themselves at your principal place of business. So ICE may present, right, a notice of inspection. It's called an NOI for your I-9 records. And we had another video where we discussed the importance of maintaining the I-9 records so that way you stay compliant with federal and state laws. So you basically have 3 business days to comply to that notice of inspection. So it's very important you speak with an immigration attorney so we can discuss the case with you and basically prepare you for that notice of inspection reply that you have to provide to ICE. So ICE may also present a warrant for documents or any arrests. So make sure you review these as well with your legal counsel, because you want to make sure that you understand how to respond. So don't just respond to those warrants or to those arrests or to the notice of inspections. What you really want to do is you want to speak it over with your attorney and get that counsel from them, so that way they can better equip you with having a more successful resolution to the matter, and that way you're armed actually with more knowledge to better handle the situation. As the employer, you also want to make sure you have a workplace response plan. I mean, these are very important plans that you can actually have to handle during this political climate your workers, your staff, as well as all your interactions with ICE. So you basically want to have a HR manager or someone that will be your spokesperson for you as the employer to interact with ICE, so that way everything is notated, everything is recorded, and everything is backed up by a game plan that you have based on the advice of your counsel. And we here at Trip Law will provide that advice to your HR department to make sure that you do have a more advantageous interaction with ICE. You also want to make sure that you train your staff ahead of time on what to do if ICE agents do arrive at your workplace. You want to have a game plan. You want to have specific protocols that are in place that your company documents that way, and then also trains, right? And trains the staff that you have there to handle these ICE interactions. And that way it leads to more advantageous outcomes for the immigrant as well as for your business. So these are things that are very important. You also want to definitely contact an immigration attorney right away, because you want to make sure that the attorney can counsel you and that you know your rights as well. So I hope you as the employer, and then also the employee listening in, understand your rights overall and understand that you do have those rights and that you should execute on them, because if not, you could have adverse consequences. So we'll discuss this more in detail once we look at your business. We'll also look at the situation with each individual employee you're hiring, and we'll basically make sure we walk you through a game plan on how to best deal with ICE. So if ICE shows up at your workplace, you now know what to do, and you can contact the immigration law firm here, and we'll be more than happy to help you. So we wish you the best of luck with your immigration matter and with your employees. And if you have any questions, we look forward to working with you and answering the call. So thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.